Welcome to Space Coast Woodturner's demo on the Woodcut Center Saver. I'm Kevin Worrell. This is Laurel Oak, and this is a 3-bowl set right here. And we're gonna show how we did this one, but I want you to be able to see what we've got here. Part of today's demo is going to be in regards to these two pieces of different moisture detectors. This one is a lignomat. This is one I use mostly, but I used to do a lot of wood. And when I'm talking a lot of wood, I had my own sawmill, so I had my own kiln. I use this all the time for checking moisture content. All right, and this works really great for me. It was $125. But I was at a garage sale the other day, and I found this one. I said, oh, what the heck, I'll pick it up. All right, this is, the manufacturer of this one is ROHS. It is a digital moisture meter. And what I did is I ran a quick little test between the two of them, and they read the same amount for the wood that I'm using. I was like, okay, this one through Walmart is $25.99. There's another company that sells it. It was $9. But then you got to pay $16 in shipping. So I guess whatever. But so I'm putting this one up for raffle at tonight's meeting. So somebody's going to go home with this one. Another thing I wanted to talk a little bit more is how I take care of my woods. Every piece of wood that I do for bowls is first turned and then final turned after it's dried out. This currently is at 15%. Basically at 15%, the wood is pretty stable. It's not going to move much even after you turn it. I usually like it down closer to 10%. The skinnier one down here is actually at 10%. All right, but this big one here is still at 15. But the reason why I do that is I want to slow the drying process down so it doesn't crack. There's just no way. I mean, I do a bit of bowls. I do about 175 bowls a year, and that's just finished bowls. Right now, I probably got over 300 bowls that are in drying process throughout. I have 2 different shops, and it's just a process that you don't have to, but I do. I go through it. I anchor seal all my stuff. I put them in bags. I'll put probably a dozen bowls into one of those recycling bags. I put it away for a month, let it settle in and slow down the process a little bit, and then I take it out and I put it on the shelf. Actually, I'm going to turn around and let you see what I've got here on the shelf. This is over top of my washer and dryer, and it's a great shelf because right now there's about 60 bowls up there, and I could fit another 60 easily on top of that. So it can handle quite a few bowls up in there at one time. But I don't put them up on this shelf until after it's dried down a little bit. Today's demo, they gave me an hour and a half to do a demo. It is not going to take that long. So what I've done is I've broken down for the people that are out there and are watching it just on YouTube and are not here at the meeting. What I wanted to do was break it down so you don't have to spend the whole hour watching this. We've got it the first 3 minutes and 32 seconds, we'll go through a first series of Center Saver cuts, and it'll give you an idea of what this is all about. But if you want to hang around, we're also going to go into the Laurel Oak, and then I did a live edge with a 3-bowl set on that one. And then I get involved in the McNaughton Center Saver, which I got to tell you, I did return. I couldn't conquer it, so I had to set it back. And also there's a Laurel Oak live edge 2-bowl set that I also have included in this demo. All right, enjoy. Here are some examples of how I've used my Center Saver to create additional wood out of wood. This is maple burl, and it's well worth just having it just for these burls to be able to save the centers out of them. But this is just some quick examples of what I've gotten out of my Center Saver. And now I'm going to show you some quantity of bowls that I've gotten out of them. And that is just from, this is Laurel Oak. And the Laurel Oak itself is, I got 93 bowls out of one trunk of a tree. And using mostly the Center Saver. Same recess is going to be used for all 3 bowls. Here I'm cutting out the first main bowl. Just cleaning out the inside, trying to make it just as nice as I want it, and then I'll sand all of this later. I need to take the tenons off at the end, but right here I'm just trying to show you just what the center saver can do. All right, just cleaning up the outside of the bowls first before I flip it around and do the cut again on the inside. So this is the second bowl already that's been mounted, and now I'm going to take out the third bowl. I'm just removing the inside, and that'll be my third bowl. Now I'm going to clean out the inside of the second bowl, get that all cleaned up before I take it off, so it's all pretty much where I want it. The other thing I'm going to be doing after we get all done here is sanding these back up and then removing the tenons off and then putting a finish on it. And this is the third bowl. What I'm doing is just put it right back on the recess that it was originally from their first bowl, and cutting another tenon on. This is just a very small tenon, and cleaning up the outside of the bowl, getting it the way I want it, and then doing the same thing to the inside. This is the third bowl out of one piece of wood. These two bowls would have been nothing but shavings without a center saver. Do I think it's worth it? Absolutely. And you'll see in my last part of this video exactly why I think it even more so. Just this is saving wood. This one, all right, here we are, the three bowls out of one piece. But in the next piece here, it is a burl. This is a maple burl I'm going to show you here in 2 seconds. And on that maple burl, I took out the center of it. It's a very weird piece of wood. It just, there's another video, it's called Moonscapes. And that'll show you all the, I've got, I think it was eight bowls out of this one burl.
We are there.
But this is one of my favorite pieces, and it's nothing more than just the center. Alrighty, that is an interesting bowl. We'll see how we get that all turned out, but that's looking pretty neat. All right, well, this is, we're going to dig out a little bit better, get it down to the right thickness, and see how she goes. And here we have that last bowl. This is my favorite bowl. It's on my bookshelf. I just love it. And it was a piece of wood that would end up in nothing but shavings. Today we're talking about turning a new species of wood that I've never turned before, and we made a 3-bowl set. I love it when I come up with new kinds of wood, for me at least. This is from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Friends of ours brought it home from their son's house. The tree came down. Now I've got anchor seal around the outside after I turned it into a round. She is pumping out sap from underneath the bark here. So this is a very, very, very wet piece of wood. But I'm going to try and get this into round, and then I'm going to anchor seal it. Let's see what we got. I'm going to just open this up and first turn it. But I want to see what kind of wood we got underneath here. I'm starting out here at about 450. I think that's a good safe speed. I've got a 4-inch faceplate on the backside of this. Nice round piece of wood here. Pretty even on the bark of both sides here. I just got to get that down past the bark. Oh, that is pretty. I love the different colors here. Very, very nice. This is actually a piece of crotchwood. That's fun. This is actually spitting at me. You got a little bit of bark still left right there. I want to clear that off, and then got a little rounding to do on the top here, but not much, not much. Pretty looking bowl. This is a very large crotch. You can see where the one piece is going out that way and the other piece going the other way. This is the bottom of the tree right like that. What I'm attempting to do here is, this is a 16-inch piece of Bing cherry, and I need to get it down to just under 16 so I can fit it on my other lathe, because I am leaving to go back to Florida, and my other lathe is a Galaxy 1644, and 16 is really maxing it out, so I got this down to about 15 inches. And then I'm just going to anchor seal this, and then I'll take it down and finish it there. Oh, this is going to be pretty. All right, the crack is gone, the pith is gone. Now I'm going to cut in a recess right here. So then I'm going to turn this into 3 bowls. So I need to be able to have a recess to grab it, flip it around, and put a new tenon on. That's the way I do it. Beautiful bowl. This is first turned. It's 1.25 inches thick. It's 1 inch thick on the bottom, 1.25 inches on the outside. Alrighty, now I'm going to take the center that I took out of that other bowl, and I'm going to mount it back on here on the recess, and put a tenon on it so I can turn it around and cut out another bowl. Another nice looking bowl. Oh, that'll be pretty if that knot stays right where it is. All right, got to put a tenon on here. I got a 3 bowl set out of that cherry bowl. This is Bing cherry. It's a sweet cherry tree, and I've never ever turned it before, and it's very, very nice. Similar, but I've noticed that the pieces that I have laying around that have darkened up after the sun hit them, they get a lot darker than regular cherry. This one's got a knot in it, which I'll end up putting some epoxy in here to fill this out, and just to give it a nice smooth finish on it. But I want to keep the look. On the back side, this is just a beautiful piece that's coming in through. There's the dark. This will darken up quite a bit. Same thing with this one. This has the remainder of that knot right there. I'll put that right back in line so that lines up. And this one, same thing is right there. 3 bowl set. I'm using a 4-inch faceplate. find it to be safer to use a faceplate than a spur drive, especially when you're dealing with some heavy stuff here. We need to get this into round. It shoots a little bit out, and I don't know how much it's going to shake, but okay, start out at 800, that's for sure. I'll start it out at 300 and see what it does. This part here is going to get knocked off first. It won't take long to do that. So make sure we miss it. 300 RPM. Pretty smooth. Bring up the tailstock. Give us a little bit more support. I find these gloves quite comfortable. They have gel in the pad in the center and up here on the top of the finger. Take some of that jolting out of your hands. Also feels good because you don't have the, when you're cutting through, the wood is always constantly hitting your fingers across the backside here. We're at 300, we're going to take it up to 350. Alright, my tenon actually works out right perfectly on the back side of that one. So I'm going to make a plunge cut right there. Like 500 RPM there. We're going to do a quick pull with my scraper and then we'll flip her around. All ready. This is first turned wood, so that should be perfect. I like it nice and even, so when you put on your anchor seal, got a good coating, and when it dries, it has a less cracking going on. So the crack going there, where's the pip? The pip is probably out here. The crack right there. Yeah, ready to get this flipped around. Put a little bit of water back in it, just to keep it from drying up too quickly. Heavy piece, and when you're doing a center saver, it can be a little jumpy. So a heavy chuck is a good idea. All right, we got it flipped around here. Let me get that flattened out. Put a recess in it. Pretty flat going across there. That's pretty good. We're at 500 and we take it up to 600. All right, she's flattened out. Got to put a recess around here. I know that my recess jaws need to be just outside of these screw holes here. So I'll just put it in line. Plunge cut that with a parting tool. The recess is all set. Now we're ready for our center saver. The actual portion of the center saver doesn't really take that long. This has a collar on it, on the bottom here, that's set so that this tip right there ends up dead center. a 13-inch full. So we are going to give it a full inch of thickness. Maybe a little bit more. That is an inch right on. Alrighty, let's get this baby on here. So I'm going to stay. That's going to give me about 1 1/8 inches right there. This is my depth gauge. So I can actually come all the way up. This chunk is so large that I can come up right up even. And still have a lot of room left at the bottom. Let me try split the difference there. You bring up your tailstock. Your bolt in line. I don't know if that's needed, but that's what I do. So the pressures are all straight across. So we're going right straight through. Get a little snug up. Lock that in place. Having everything tight is of utmost importance because you're going to see this is going to shake a little bit. Okay. We need to run at 600, and we are set at 600. Let's see how she goes. Heard the sound change, you know you're close. She's there. There it is. I got a rubber mat down here. Makes it nice for putting your tools down without worrying about your tips getting damaged. That would have been on the ground in nothing but shavings. So that's a beautiful bowl. Get that off to the side for a little bit. Find out how deep we made that. This is a very deep bowl, so the equipment only will let you go so far. This is my 60-degree bottom feeder for doing bowls. It was a 5/8 bowl gouge at one time. And now you're gonna see what we got. I have 3 3/4. I have 5 1/2. So that is 1 3/4 inches still in the bottom yet. So we're going to clear that out a lot further. I need to have it so it's even from top all the way to bottom, so it doesn't split. Hopefully it doesn't split. We got 4 1/4, and we got 5 1/2. So I got 1 1/4. I have 1 1/4 on the bottom, and I have 1 inch and almost 1/4 on the top. So that is pretty even. So now we're just going to clean it up a little bit with a scraper. Woo! That looks pretty. That's going to be a beautiful bowl. That crack that got right there comes in almost 3/4 inch yet, but that is such a big bowl, 3/4 inch off, and it won't hurt it at all. So I like to round the edges over. When you're dealing with it, you don't have to deal with sharp edges. Again, this is first turned wood. So that is ready for anchor seal, but I'm not ready to anchor seal it yet. So we're going to put this down here in the pile. Just a slow drying process a little bit. We've got one bowl down there, all finished and ready for anchor seal. This is the bowl we took out of that one. Now we're going to try and get a second bowl out of this one. That'll give us a 3-bowl set. And this is why you put the recess on. The recess can put right back on top of here. And now I can put a tenon on the back side of this without any effort. I'm going to put a medium tenon on it. And the reason for doing that is so I can just flip it around and put it right on the same chuck. This tenon is oversized. And the reason for that is when this dries, it's going to go out as round. And I want to put it back into round and still keep it so it'll fit my medium tenon. That's against all the rules. Because the rules say you're only supposed to leave 1/8 of an inch between the jaws. But you can't do that. I'm going to leave stay proud. You got to do the other side now. Alrighty, this is ready for my bowl saver now. What we're going to do is take this off and turn it around. We need to know how wide this is. This is almost 10 inches. So if I take 1.5 inches off of that, I'll still be at 8. Huh. Let's see what we can do here. We may be able to use our large bit on this. Let's see what's that. I'm going to go with the small. I just put a brand new tip on my small blade here, and I'm looking to see how well that works. I'm going to bring this up so you can see it. Hopefully you can see all that. So I've loosened up these two screws here, and all you do is pull the blade out. And then we're going to take this blade out, and we're going to flip it over and put it back in here. And we only want it to come in. I leave it so it's sticking about a ½ inch in from the outside here. This one goes back in. You flip it over so that the teeth are down. It comes around, and you want it so it's just past the face. Here. I'm ready to tighten that baby up. That's how easily you can quickly change your blades. Tight is important. I'm going to go 3/4 of an inch on this thing. Three-quarters of an inch, but it's on the inside of this line. Now I got a small blade on now, so this is my depth gauge for my small blade. But you can see I got to have it all the way out to here, so it's hitting on my screw. Then I'm going to bring this over. Leave that there. Right about there. That should do it. Lock it in place. Lock it in place. Now the tailstock comes up. Tight and snug it up just a little bit. Locked, 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 tightened. We should be all set and ready to roll. Let's try it, see what we got. Listening, you can hear it's almost there. There it is. When you hear the sound change, you know you're close. This sticks a little bit, so I use a screwdriver to pull it out. Put that on a rubber mat. Out of the way. There's another bowl. Again, that would have been shavings under the ground here. Get that one out of the way. See how deep she is. 2 inches, right on the money. 2 3/4, on 3/4 of an inch deep, on 3/4 of an inch wide. Actually 7/8 of an inch. We are going to clean this up with a scraper. Second bowl's done. It's looking for any cracks that should be touched up with super glue, but it looks really good. That's going to be a beautiful bowl. Down into the shavings. Alrighty, one more. This last one is nothing more than just a bowl. You don't use the center saver. There we got it. So we're going to put this bowl, mount it right back on with a medium-sized chuck. Tenon on it. This is going to be a small tenon on this one. Little center hole every time I do that. When I go to put this back on my vacuum chuck, I have a center that I can hook it up to and just put it right on the vacuum chuck and she's right where she's supposed to be. Alright, I'm going to do a quick scrape of this. She's ready for my small chuck. I'm going to leave this about 5/8 of an inch wide, thick. That is ready for anchor seal. Turn off my overhead light here because my camera shows better color. There's the first bowl, second, and third. 3-bowl set. Ready for some anchor seal. Normally, when we're doing a first turn, we make it thick, but on a live edge, we can't get it back on the lathe afterwards because it's going to warp up something fierce. Your wings are going to pull in and you won't be able to straighten it back up. So the first time through, we're going to make these bowls what we want them to be and then let them warp on their own, and what they do, and what comes out of it is what it'll be. This bowl is 10.5 inches across. So we need to use the large blade to start with because it only goes up to 8 inches. Now you're still limited to how many you can get out of here based on the thickness of the bowl. So I don't know if I'll get 3, but I'll definitely get 2. And then we'll make this, and then we'll come back around afterwards and clean it up my tools and get it to the size I want. That's a nice starting point. That is a 1/2 inch, a 5/8 thick bowl right there. No, we're not going to get it, because I have to have this all the way out there. So this is going to swoop in and cut, so it's about 3/4 of an inch thick on the bottom. And then I'll try and make something out of the bottom one. And there's a problem right there. Right there's about 3/4 of an inch thick on the bottom. All right, I'm tightened up here. I'm tightened up here. Now we have to bring up the tailstock. It fits right on. See what she's gonna do, babe. Let's see what happens. All right, that's locked. That's locked. That's not locked. That's locked. That's locked. It's a hard hitting tool, so you want to make sure everything is locked in place before you start up. Got to run at 600 RPMs, so that's where we're at. A cute little bowl. All right, now we got to fix this bowl up the way we want it to look. So we have to drive our line in. This is so thick here. We want this to match what we have up here. Just a hair more right there. I don't know if you noticed, but when I went with my regular scraper and then I went to the negative rake scraper on live edge, works fantastic. definitely not as aggressive. There's my flat. That feels much better. All right, that's ready for sandpaper. So I'm going to put super glue. I already super glued the outside edge. Now I'm going to super glue the inside edge. I leave the tenon on. That's just so I can put this back on here when I'm sanding it. But then after I get done, I'll use my vacuum chuck to put this on and take the tenon off. But that's after I have it all sanded. Because then with the vacuum chuck, I can clean up my bottom here and give it a little bit of a concave so the bowl doesn't rock on the table. There you go. That went very, very nice. Okay, I put super glue on the outside of this. Second bowl. Two bowl set. This is my attempt at using the McNaughton Center Saver. It cut through, got it started, and would roll in, but I couldn't get it to sweep down into the center. I tried it quite a few times and just couldn't get it to do it, so I sent it back.